Today, we're diving into the brand new 2025 report on home buyers and sellers from the National Association of Realtors. And you know what? It shows a housing market that isn't just shifting a little, it's literally splitting in two. This is more than just a change, it's a massive rupture. And it's creating two totally separate realities for anyone trying to buy a house in America.
So let's get right to the big question, the one that's on pretty much everyone's mind, especially if you're trying to get your foot on that property ladder. Why does buying your first place feel nearly impossible these days? Well, the data we're about to look at gives a pretty stark answer.
Okay, look at this number, just 21%. That's it. That's the share of all home sales that went to first-time buyers last year. Now, to give you some context, that is the lowest number ever recorded since they started tracking this stuff way back in 1981. It is a massive red flag for housing accessibility.
All right, so let's dig into this because that 21% figure really signals something huge. We're talking about the vanishing first-time buyer. And this isn't some small dip, it's a historic retreat from the market, and it's completely changing what homeownership even looks like.
And this slide right here just lays it all out. Historically, before 2008, first-time buyers made up a really healthy 40% of the market. Now, we're at 21%. And get this, look at the age. It used to be a milestone you'd hit in your late 20s. Now, the typical first-time buyer is 40 years old. 40!
So you might be asking, if first-time buyers are disappearing, who's actually left buying houses? Well, this gets us to the heart of this market rupture. It's really become a tale of two completely different buyers, and they're playing two completely different games.
What's so wild about this is just how clearly it shows the divide. So on one side, you've got the first-time buyer. They're 40, they've scraped together a 10% down payment, mostly from their own savings. But on the other side, the repeat buyer. They're 62. Putting down more than double, 23%, and they're funding it with the most powerful weapon in real estate, equity from the home they just sold.
Just let that sink in for a second. The median age for someone finally managing to buy their very first home is 40.
And who are they often up against in a bidding war? A repeat buyer who's, on average, 62. I mean, that's a 22-year gap in life experience, in wealth, in pure market power.
So what's holding them back for so long? Turns out it's a triple threat. The report shows that for folks struggling to save, almost half are getting crushed by high rent. Then you've got 43% paying off student loans, and over a third are juggling credit card debt. It's like you're fighting a battle on three fronts just to save for a down payment.
And for the few who actually make it across the finish line, this is how they're doing it. Most of them, 59%, are using their personal savings. But what's really interesting is this growing slice of people cashing in financial assets, we're talking stocks, 401ks, that now makes up 26% of down payments. And a solid 22% are getting a gift from family. It really does take a village or a pretty decent stock portfolio.
Okay, so this huge gap between the two types of buyers is basically rewriting the entire home buying playbook. What people want, where they're looking, and what they're willing to give up to get a house, it's all changed. There's a whole new set of priorities.
So when it comes to picking a neighborhood, yeah, quality is still number one. But the real story here is what's in second place. Look at this. Convenience to friends and family has shot up the list. At 47%, it's now seen as more important than the overall affordability of homes. That's a huge cultural shift towards community and your personal network.
And here's the absolute shocker. That daily commute, its importance is just in a total free fall. Just a decade ago, over half of buyers said living near their job was a top priority. Today, even with all the return to office talk, that number has plunged to just 31%. People are literally choosing their family over their office. For those younger buyers who don't have that mountain of home equity to lean on, buying a home means you got to make sacrifices. We're calling it the compromise. They are way more likely than repeat buyers to have to bend on the price, the condition of the house, and even its size, all just to get a foot in the door. All right, let's flip the script for a second. To really get why the market is so incredibly tight and competitive, we have to look at what sellers are doing, or maybe more accurately, what they aren't doing. This right here is a massive piece of the puzzle. Back before the 2008 crash, people moved on average about every 6 years. Today, that number has almost doubled. It's now 11 years. People are staying put longer than ever, and that directly chokes the supply of houses that even make it onto the market. And when they finally do decide to sell, guess what? They're overwhelmingly turning to the pros.
A whopping 91% of sellers use a real estate agent. Meanwhile, going it alone for sale by owner has just dwindled to an all-time low of only 5%. It just goes to show you, in a market this complex, people want an expert.
So when you put all these different pieces together, the vanishing first-time buyer, the super powerful repeat buyer, and the seller who's staying put, you get a really clear picture of our new housing reality. It's a market that is older, wealthier, and frankly a lot less dynamic than it used to be.
So let's just recap the biggest takeaways here. First, everyone involved in buying or selling a house is older than we've ever seen. Second, first-time buyers have been squeezed down to a historic record low. Third, people are staying in their homes for a crazy long 11 years, which keeps inventory tight. And finally, there's been this major cultural shift. Being close to family now beats being close to your job.
And all of this leaves us with one giant lingering question for the future. As the market becomes more and more dominated by an older, more established group of homeowners who have all this equity on their side, what does that mean for the path to homeownership for everyone else? Seriously, what is the future for the next generation trying to buy a home?